Well, good afternoon and welcome to the May meeting of the Finance Committee. I actually have sat on this side for the first time, Al, and I can actually see out across the skyline.
And tomorrow we're going to make sure that the chairs are gone, so the view isn't blocked at all.
Thank you. Anyway, first up is the adoption of the meeting minutes from the April meeting. They were behind, they are behind tab 2. Can I please get a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second? I'll second that. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's adopted. Next, I'm going to do a motion. Can I get a motion to go into executive session to discuss the financial history of a particular corporation?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor, aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none. We shall go into executive session.
I assume everybody stays.
Thank you. We are out of executive session. No decisions have been made except to come out of executive session. So, onward we go. We're going to be discussing 6 resolutions today. First up is behind tab 4. Andy's going to present, and it's the New York State Department of Health. Andy? Where's Andy?
Good afternoon. The Finance Committee is being asked to recommend that the Board authorize and adopt 2 series resolutions in a combined amount not to exceed $150 million to refund the New York State Department of Health Series 1990A, Series 2003, Series 2004, Subseries 1 and 2, the Series 2005A, and the Series 2006A bonds, all of which are secured by the Health Income Fund. The final maturity of the proposed bonds will not exceed the final maturity of the bonds being refunded, considered in the aggregate. The public health law presently lists 6 facilities as part of the Department of Health: the Helen Hayes Hospital, the New York State Home for Veterans and their dependents at Oxford, the New York State Home for Veterans in Western New York, the New York State Home for Veterans in the Lower Hudson Valley, and the Roswell Park Cancer Institute. The revenues of these 5 institutions are required deposited in the Health Income Fund and secure those bonds issued on behalf of the 5 institutions. The 6th facility, the New York State Home for Veterans in New York City, has a separate fund, the Veterans Home Income Fund, and all revenues of that facility are required to be deposited in that fund, and that is not part of this financing. The proposed bonds will be secured by annual payments subject to appropriation to be made from the Health Income Fund. The Health Income Fund maintains a balance equal to 6 months debt service and is held by the State Comptroller. The expected rating on the bonds is AA2, AA. Under current market conditions, the refunding provides gross debt service savings of approximately $28.2 million and net present value savings of approximately $28.2 million, which is 17.3% of the bonds being refunded. There is a long history of uninterrupted appropriation of debt service payments, and operation of the Health Income Fund reported debt service coverage in excess of 20 times in fiscal 2015, and the refunding will only enhance that coverage. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Andy. Any questions?
I didn't have any, no.
Does this need like Department of Health approval or anything, or is it?
No.
No? No. Okay.
But we are working with the Department of Health on the transaction. They're part of the working group on this.
Thank you, Portia. Any other questions?
Our loan agreement is with DOH for this.
Yeah, I was going to say with the one, I know DOH and DOH Division of Budget, plus I think also, if I remember rightly from years past, even from the last financing, that DOB was also a party to the, the financing or the issuing of bonds. Well, no. Okay.
Their disclosure is used as
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking of the disclosures.
But
My mistake.
Our loan agreement is with DOH.
Yes.
Is that a reason, and it's a question for Mike actually, Russ, can you vote on this one? I mean, we have a majority anyway, it doesn't matter, but is this one that you should vote on or can vote on?
I don't see any reason not to.
He probably should have stayed, Alice. We're set with.
Okay.
A majority.
Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. Just to keep the record straight.
Okay. So, hearing no other questions, I'm going to make a motion to approve, or recommend approval to the full board at tomorrow's board.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Let the record reflect that the Department of Health rep recused himself from voting on with abundance of caution. Thank you. Okay, next up. Is
Very
behind
well
tab
said.
5. Behind tab 5 is a pit. And Andy's still going to. Andy is still up on. You're going to present the pit offering.
Yep. The Finance Committee is being asked to recommend that the board authorize and adopt the necessary documents in order for the authority to issue multiple series of tax-exempt and taxable fixed-rate bonds to be issued at one or more times in an amount not to exceed $2 billion under the Personal Income Tax Revenue Bond Program. The bonds will be sold on either a competitive or negotiated basis or a combination of both, and their term will not exceed 30 years. The term of the refunding bonds will not exceed the term of the bonds being refunded, considered in the aggregate. The bonds are being issued to fund a host of new money projects as well as several refundings. The new money projects total approximately $905 million and will be for the benefit of the SUNY University of New York educational facilities, SUNY Upstate Community Colleges, capital projects for the Office of Mental Health, the Office of Persons with Developmental Disabilities, the Office of Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Services, both state and voluntary facilities, including certain tax credit projects. The bonds are also being issued to reimburse the state or fund various environmental projects which may be administered by the Department of Environmental Conservation, the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets, the Department of State, and the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. In addition, the bonds are being issued to reimburse the state for state municipal facilities, including reimbursements for certain high-profile grants, including the Solar City Project and the Syracuse Film Hub Project. The bonds are also being issued to reimburse and fund various other economic development grants under various grant programs. The refunding consists of certain fixed-rate bonds issued under various programs, including but not limited to the Personal Income Tax Revenue Bond Program, the CUNY Program, the Mental Health Program, the State Education Department. The current potential refunding candidates were all issued by the authority with the exception of certain PIT bonds that were issued by the Environmental Facilities Corporation. It is expected that there will be two financings undertaken with this authorization. The first is a new money competitive financing, and the second financing would be the refunding transaction. Based on current market conditions, the refunding provides gross savings of approximately $137.4 million, and net present value savings of approximately $140.4 million, which is approximately 12.4% of the bonds being refunded. The bonds will be secured by semi-annual payments made pursuant to the financing agreement between the authority and the state, and the bonds are also secured by a set-aside of 25% of personal income tax revenues collected pursuant to statute and deposited in the Revenue Bond Tax Fund. Current debt service coverage for all outstanding PIT debt across all issuers is 3.9 times. And finally, the bonds are expected to be rated AA1, AAA, AA+. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any Chair?
Andy, for the record, would you describe the difference between the reference to OMH under two sets of capital OMH and OASAS under bullet points 3 and 4, just so that distinction is clear on the record?
Yeah, the one bullet references all state facilities, and the other is the voluntary agencies.
Okay. And I guess the person who would normally ask the question is not not present here, but who checks to make sure there's enough headroom in the 25% set aside?
That's usually the Division of Budget in the Comptroller's office.
Okay.
Andy, how does the Revenue Bond Tax Fund? Could you just educate me a little bit on how that actually works?
Yeah, all or not sales tax, all personal income tax revenue are deposited in this fund, and once the debt service has been maintained, then the money flows back to the state, the surplus, I guess.
Right. But the fund itself, like where is this? Is it like who oversees
state-
this?
The
there a person-
state
there-
comptroller oversees the fund.
Is there a
It's in the
division
joint-
there or something?
It's in the joint custody of tax and finance and the comptroller.
So what? So tax makes sure the money goes in, and then the controller oversees it, basically.
Yes.
And it comes out, as Andy said, it comes out first for debt service
Okay.
before anything else.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions?
No, none.
Okay, hearing none. Can I please get a motion to recommend approval of this new money and refunding to the full board at tomorrow's board meeting?
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, hearing none. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Andy. And we're going to move on now to David. I think David's here. Behind tab 6 is the NYU new money for, how much is it at? For the billion?
Yeah, so there was a revised report that was sent around to the members yesterday, which reflects the new not to exceed amount of $1,062,500,000. That was the only change from the original report. So the Finance Committee's asked to recommend to the full board 3 series of tax-exempt and/or taxable fixed and/or variable rate bonds in an amount not to exceed $1,062,500,000, with maturities not to exceed 35 years on behalf of New York University. The current plan of finance is to issue 2 series through a public offering, 1 taxable and 1 tax-exempt. The expectation is that these will all be fixed-rate bonds, with the exception of a certain amount that will be step coupon bonds. Bond proceeds will be used to finance numerous construction and renovation projects located throughout the university system, totaling about $942.5 million. Those projects are described on page 1 of the staff report. Just to highlight a couple of the larger projects, $200 million will be used for the construction of a new 365,000 square foot science building for the School of Medicine to be located at 435 East 30th Street. And approximately $345 million will be used to transform 370 J Street in Brooklyn from an office building into an applied science academic and research center. So along with NYU's recent acquisition of the former Polytechnic University, which is now the Tandon School of Engineering, this project will further increase NYU's presence in Brooklyn. NYU is currently rated AA3 by Moody's and AA- by S&P. The Moody's outlook was was revised last March to a positive outlook from a stable outlook. So with those ratings, the university qualifies for an unsecured borrowing under DASNY's financing guidelines for independent institutions. I think overall the members are fairly familiar with the financials of NYU, so I just want to highlight a couple of the recent credit trends. The university continues to experience strong demand and stable enrollment. For fall of 2015, the university received over 57,000 applications, which was the 8th year in a row of record applications. And management indicates that that number is over 63,000 for fall of 2016. More importantly, the university remains selective with an acceptance ratio averaging just under 34% over 5 years, while maintaining its matriculation ratio, which is also 34%. So overall, enrollment increased to over 50,000 for the fall of 2015. The university is very focused on the cost of education. Over the past 10 years, finance has tripled and now exceeds $300 million. Wow. And also, the university announced recently the smallest increase in the overall cost of attendance in 20 years, of 2% of with 2016, room and board at 20% rate. NYU is also currently embarked on the Momentum campaign, which is dedicated to raising $1 billion by 2017 for scholarships, and over $575 million has been raised to date. Just want to spend a little bit of time on the additional debt through this financing. The university's balance sheet currently reflects relatively moderate capital relative to the size of its operations and debt ratios. So if you look at the sources and uses for this transaction, the proposed financing is estimated to add just under $900 million of long-term debt. I did want to point out, of the total amount of debt to be issued, approximately $550 million will be used to pay off the university's line of credit, which has been utilized to pay project costs to date. So when you net that number out, the university will essentially be adding $350 million of additional debt to their balance sheet through this financing. And I also did want to point out that this financing covers the planned capital projects for the next 2 fiscal years. So they're essentially taking advantage of the low interest rate environment and consolidating their debt plans. One last point on the balance sheet: the university reports total net assets in excess of $5 billion, which includes unrestricted net assets of just over $2 billion. What the balance sheet does not reflect is the full value of the university's significant real estate holdings. The book value on the university's balance sheet is roughly $5 billion, but the current market value of that property is estimated at a low range of $10 billion up to approximately $14 billion. Mr. Chairman.
Questions?
Not really a question, just looking for clarity. NYU hasn't committed not to undertake any other capital projects in the next 2 years. It's simply saying that it doesn't expect to.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
So yeah, that's their current capital plans.
Okay.
I mean, that could change.
Sure.
That's the
Sure.
current.
Okay.
Are
That's
any-
what I wanted to clarify, David.
Are any of the other properties that you're talking about, are they mortgaged for some other type of debt?
No, not that I'm aware of. No.
The one building is basically probably 3/4 up, right? I pass it probably twice a week. The one that's the new medical school on 30th Street? It's a beautiful building.
Yes,
by the
it's
way.
under construction. Yeah, that's the one.
Where is it?
It's right on 30th, right off the East River there.
As soon as you come up.
Yeah, I watched it go up.
Right, so you
I
got
know
Bellevue,
exactly
you
where
got
that is, yeah.
NYU, and then you got the military that's coming up.
NYU's
Then
on
you
the east side.
got the other building that, remember that odd building that folded?
Yeah, it looks like it's falling.
Yeah.
Right. It's a little.
Right next to it. yeah.
Okay.
Well, listen, and NYU is a great facility, and it really adds to the to New York City. Were any of these projects, though? I don't think so. They weren't subject to the. They had their issues with the community and down in the.
No,
I don't think any
no.
of these have anything to do with that, right?
No issues that we're aware of with these
81
projects.
That's 181 Mercer is not involved.
Right. And that's. I just wanted to confirm that for the record. Thank you.
And the temporary hearing was held last week, and there was no issue.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions or concerns? Hearing none, can I get a motion to recommend approval of this to the full board at tomorrow's board meeting?
Absolutely. So moved.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. That motion carries. Matt, we're on to 7, and that's the Bridgepoint Health and Bridgepoint Care.
Yes, thank you. The final 3 staff reports speak to 3 private placements. As with private placements, the bonds will not be rated. They're all 3 with different banks, and I wanted to acknowledge the Department of Health's timely recommendation memos, and DASNY staff is very appreciative of that. So the first financing that the Finance Committee is being asked to recommend to the full board is for a 15-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $12 million on behalf of Brightpoint Health and Brightpoint Care, which are not-for-profit organizations that deliver specialized health care and support services to individuals throughout New York City. The projects that we're considering include the refinancing of the New York City's Industrial Development Agency Civic Facility Revenue Bond Series 2006, as well as the construction of a 26,000 square foot health center. The security features will include mortgages on certain property as well as a first priority lien on all non-real estate assets. For this private placement, the proposed purchaser is Bank United, and it is anticipated that the bonds will have a variable rate of interest. The institution is contemplating entering into an interest rate swap to provide it with a synthetic fixed rate of interest, and they have been advised that we will be looking for them to have a swap advisor, which they have acknowledged. Regarding the institutions, they provide services at diagnostic and treatment centers or through adult day health care and mental health home programs. The services include specialized primary care as well as dental and mental health care, outpatient substance abuse treatment, and counseling as noted in the staff report. Many of the services are provided to individuals with incomes below 200% of the federal poverty level. These are essential services and are supported mainly through Medicaid reimbursement, as over 98% of the institution's net patient care service revenue is comprised of either Medicaid or Medicaid managed care. The institutions benefit from enhanced reimbursement and eligibility for various federal grants through the Federally Qualified Health Center Program, or the FQHC program. By design, an FQHC exists to serve those that have limited access to health care or to those that are uninsured. FQHCs provide comprehensive primary and preventative care to persons of all ages, regardless of their ability to pay, and they are a critical component of the healthcare safety net. FQHCs are typically based in medically underserved areas or an area that has been designated as a health professional shortage area. And to conclude, Brightpoint Health and Brightpoint Care have a common board and combined financial statements, and it is currently expected that Brightpoint Care will either be a co-borrower or a guarantor, although there are indications that it will be the latter. Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions, concerns?
No concerns at all. But the question, Matt, the health professional shortage area designation,
Yes.
Is that a federal designation?
Yes, that's otherwise known as a HPSA, and they look at the ratios of physicians to population.
Okay.
It's typically in rural areas or in urban areas.
Wow. Thank you. I've never heard of it.
I never heard of it either.
I just note I think we did earlier, the Department of Health memo.
Yep.
Endorsing the,
Yeah, I wanted to make a
Certainly.
couple comments about that. In our memo, where it does say that we've given our approval, and as a condition to proceed to the final financing, that the contingencies have to be satisfied. I just sort of wanted to explain that the approval that's been issued by the Department of Health is the CON approval letter, which has contingencies, and some of the contingencies that it relates to is the actual financing, of course, which is still in the process of talking, as Matt said, and also with the resolution proceed, there also is some other things that, minor adjustments with some architectural stuff, but to get the project going, or so that they're able to do the financing, that's why we, because it is just a resolution to proceed, so that everybody can kind of be engaged with the, bond counsel and the rest of the stuff to kind of get the process rolling. And also, they have a couple other programs that they have that do not deal with the Department of Health that they're proposing maybe to house in that facility, which there's some other federal approvals that have to kind of come along the way. So I just wanted to explain our statement with the approval with the contingency part.
Thank you. Thank you. You think these contingencies are no one has the crystal ball, but there's nothing crazy in the contingencies, right?
Right. I mean, everything is just assuming that they're going to be, the contingencies are going to be satisfied, so that's why the approval of the project, because it's like anything else. I've seen other projects that were kind of approved that at some point in time, they decided not to go forward with it, but you don't have that crystal ball, and to wait around to get all the approvals that you need would kind of put them at a disadvantage by the time that you can get to where you need to be.
Got it.
But Russ, contingent approvals from DOH are not unusual.
No.
Okay.
Most all projects that kind of, usually that's the first letter to get is the contingent approval letter.
Okay.
Great. Okay, any other questions or concerns?
None.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to recommend approval of this to the full board at tomorrow's board meeting?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Next up is behind tab 8. That's the Parker Jewish Institute for Healthcare, and that's another one for Matt. Matt? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The next financing that the Finance Committee is being asked to recommend to the full board is a 27-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $42 million on behalf of Parker Jewish Institute for Healthcare and Rehabilitation, which is a nursing home located on the Queens and Nassau border. The projects that we're looking to consider include the refinancing of Parker Jewish Institute for Healthcare and Rehabilitation's taxable construction loans with M&T Bank, as well as additional renovations and upgrades to their facility. The security features will include a mortgage on certain property, pledges of gross receipts or pledge of gross receipts, and a payment guarantee from Parker Jewish Institute for Healthcare and Rehabilitation's foundation. For this private placement, the proposed purchaser is M&T Bank, and again, it is anticipated that the bonds will have a variable rate of interest. The institution is contemplating entering into an interest rate swap to provide it with a synthetic fixed rate. And again, we've advised them that we will be looking for them to have a swap advisor, which they have acknowledged. Regarding the institution, they have experienced high occupancy rates, which have averaged nearly 97% over the last 5 years. They have the benefit of the Parker Jewish Institute for Healthcare and Rehabilitation's foundation, and the foundation has approximately $32.5 million of cash and investments and was founded for the sole purpose of raising funds exclusively for the benefit of the institution. And to conclude, the completion of the renovations will help assure their competitiveness in the future. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And I note there is a Department of Health similar to the other offering, right? For the conditional approval. Right?
Well, I don't think this one, is this a contingent, Russ, is this one a contingent letter, or is this one?
No, it's not, it's
Clean.
already has the approvals because the projects have already been approved. And
Got it.
these are just, so the refunding is basically doing, providing permanent financing as opposed to the temporary financing that now exists. And we acknowledge the fact that as it goes along, as you proceed along, that those two numbers are going to kind of interchange. You know, one's going to go up, one's going to go down, depending on how much they, you know, continue with the project. And also, too, I just,
Yeah.
yeah. The other thing that I wanted to point out is because it's under the nursing home, which is under the old MICVA statute, which basically, in a sense, it makes it an Article 28A, because that's how they were incorporated, which brings along with it some extra set of, you know, things that need to be done along the way with the financing, which is only unique to DASNY, because if you were an LDC or another public benefit corporation, you wouldn't have to go along with those other guidelines as it goes along. But as I've looked into it, because some of these things are 30 and 40 years old, but some of them, to comply with them, we're going to be able to comply with only a minimal amount of effort. But I just wanted to point that out, that there is that distinct difference, and that was only something that you inherited back in '97 that existed for the last 30 or 40 years, which is kind of makes the playing field a little bit different.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns or comments? Hearing none, can I please get a motion to recommend approval of this to the full board at tomorrow's board meeting? Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Okay, next up, we advance to tab 9. It's a pretty busy day today, right?
I've had a busy day.
What is the Providence Rest? That's for you too, Matt, right?
Yes, thank you. The final staff report that the Finance Committee is being asked to recommend to the full board is for a 19-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $27 million on behalf of Providence Rest, which is a nursing home located in the Bronx. The project that you're considering is the refunding of DASNY's Providence Rest Insured Revenue Bonds, Series 2005. These Series 2005 bonds were issued to finance upgrades and renovations to the facility, and that was a publicly offered issue that was insured by HCA Capital. The security features for this loan will include a mortgage on certain property as well as a pledge of gross receipts. And for this private placement, the proposed purchaser is Sterling National Bank, and it is anticipated that the bonds will have a fixed rate of interest in a term mode. Regarding the institution, they really have an excellent liquidity position, averaging over 165 days of operating cash available over the last 5 years. Regarding their balance sheet and other balance sheet ratios, the institution's current assets, total unrestricted net assets, cash to debt ratio, current ratio, and cushion ratio have all improved over time, and many of the institution's financial ratios are at levels that exceed both the statewide and DASNY medians. And to conclude, regarding the refunding, it is anticipated that it will provide the institution with annual gross savings of slightly over $1 million and a net present value benefit of approximately $6.8 million.
Wow.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Ben. And also, there is a memo in support, right, or recommending approval of the
Yes,
resolution. from
this
the
one is
Department
a
of Health.
contingent approval memo.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns, comments?
I had none.
Any from our Albany friends? Hearing none, can I please get a motion to recommend approval of this to the full board at tomorrow's board meeting?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. Third? Any,
Third.
all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Just jumping ahead to the end there. Any opposed?
None.
Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you very much. That concludes our agenda. I think, by the way, I might be mistaken, Portia, but this might have been one of the largest finance committee approvals as long as I've been here. It's been about 8 years now. So thank you very much, and good work to the folks in finance and to the entire DASNY.
We'll make that point in the meeting.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
This will keep them very busy.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Thank you very much. Okay, motion to
moved.
adjourn, thank you. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.